Hi, my name is Blair Treuer. I am a rural northern Minnesota textile artist. I had my very first solo show in 2020, so I'm relatively new to the scene. Um, the how I got into textile work is through an unusual route. My husband and my children are all Native American. And as part of their culture, um, they participate in this huge ceremony. And for that ceremony, I was obligated to make blankets as part of their spiritual offering. And so I'd never sewn before, um, and had to teach myself how to create these blankets for a ceremony. And because I am not native, that was the only way that I could participate in this huge spiritual event in each of my children's lives. And so instead of doing block quilts like everybody else did, I created pictures of the Native American names that they were gifted when they were born. And so at first, my work was really whimsical with these blankets. My kids helped me make them. Like I had them help paint it and help pick out fabric and put pieces of it together. But that was my first time ever creating something pictorially with fabric. And then after my youngest child went through her ceremony, I honestly didn't know if I would ever sew again. Um, because I didn't know if the love affair of that act was because it was for something so important in my children's lives, or if I liked playing with fabric. Like I didn't know what that calling was, but soon after, I had no reason to do it. And again, I realized that I just had this love affair with fabric and with creating pictorially with it. And so I decided to challenge myself to see what I was capable of creating. And I started doing portraits that way. Yeah. It is still my life. All of my shows have been about me. So when I first created portraits, the first series that I ever made was one of each of my nine children and my husband and myself. And initially in my mind, they were just like practice for me. Like I was trying to develop this art form. I had no idea what I was capable of doing. So I was practicing by using the images of my family. And once that show came together, I learned very quickly that, wow, I have something to say.
Mhm.
And so um, each of those pieces ended up sharing a really deep, impactful story of our life together in this, multicultural relationship that we have. And, it really explored um, the cultural teachings that my children received. And so the piece for or Aviary is my daughter Maddy. And it's from
Mhm.
that first series where I created a portrait of each of my children. Um, Moving on from that, I still like my next series still was about my life, and it was about, an experience that my daughter had getting her first period. And there was this huge ceremony for her, a
Mhm.
ceremony in which men cried at her ceremony. And it was so empowering and beautiful. And so all of my work, it comes from my own very personal experiences. Um, and, what my being in this family has taught me about life. I think we all are artists. I think every single human being on the planet is an artist. I think that we um, should all recognize that and allow ourselves to call ourselves that. We all have creative gifts. Um, and I think the more that we all insist that our creative gifts are worth other people's time and attention, um, the better off we'll all be. My workspace is teeny tiny. I work out of the loft of my house, so I don't even have one full wall. So it makes it really difficult to make my pieces. I can't like put them up and see how it's going. And my pieces are really large. Like I work large scale. So I piece together on a table in front of me. I have to stand up on a stool and like take pictures so that I can see what it's going to look like when it's vertical. I have a brother. To be honest, like I'm probably one of the only crafters that does not pay that close attention to my materials and equipment and like what
Mhm.
I- I have this machine that I got that I was able to purchase through my very first art grant. And I know that it is a brother. I can't tell you what make, model, version. I don't know 90% of the things that it's capable of doing because I only do what I want to do with my machine. I also have a long arm quilting machine that I have so far also I bought with a fellowship that I had. But I so far have barely learned how to use it yet. I intend to with all of my new work, but yeah, I same with like what kind of fabric I use, what kind of thread I use. I with fabric, I am all over the place. I will use anything. I've used pieces of my kids' old clothes and costumes and things within my work. I will use whatever. And I know that that's especially like what crafters and quilters like really want to know about process and materials and equipment. And I have never really leaned into that. So I'm sorry, but I have no idea. I tend not to call myself a quilter because in my mind, quilters have mastered a lot of techniques, a lot of quilting techniques, and I have not. Um, but at the same time, like I'm almost grateful that I didn't come to my craft through quilting. I came to it from a completely different angle,
Mhm.
where I didn't know rules about how you make something. And that has like just led for me personally to a, a huge explosion of experimentation. Some things
Mhm.
don't work out, but a lot of it does. And so my advice to people new to fiber is like, um, if you need rules to get started because you have no place to, you can't grasp a place to start, then sure, research the rules and how other people do it. But otherwise, like, don't be afraid to just do whatever feels good to you. Like, in my mind, I feel like art shouldn't have rules. I probably like most people, a lot of what I want to make is all conjured up in my mind first. Like I have um a basic understanding of an image that I can't that my mind doesn't want to twerk or change. Like it's stuck. And so when I get that feeling about an image, I know that that's the right one to do when I don't have to like try to intellectualize it and try to change it and figure out how to, make it different or better. So
Mhm.
then what I do, like all of my work is figurative. So and so far all of my work has featured my family members. Um, so I photograph their face because I want them to recognize their likeness in my work.
Mhm.
And then so my process is to have these photographs of their face. I'll do a lot of them. Um, and then when I start making a piece, I will focus on their face. That takes me the most amount of time. That is the most stressful part of my work. I need people out of my studio. I don't want anyone talking to me. I don't want anybody watching me. I'm like trying to accurately depict what I see in this photograph that I'm looking at as closely as possible. So I don't like project onto my fabric. I mean, some people do that. Some people print out. I guess I don't even know how a lot of other people do their stuff, but I'm I took a few classes in a few art classes where you have a subject in front of you and you are, just using your eye to try to depict it on paper. And
Hmm.
so that is that I come to this process that way too. So even though I'm looking at a photograph, I don't transfer. I I'm eyeing it. And so it's
Yeah.
very careful, slow, layering process, labor of love. And
Hmm.
then as soon as and so to start, I use just a little bit of glue stick to hold my teeny tiny pieces that I cut together
Hmm.
as I'm thinking through what I'm doing. And then once I get a piece, the part of the piece large enough where it makes me nervous that I will lose pieces if I don't tack this down sometime soon, then I start sewing over the top of what I've
Hmm.
so I always start with the face, and then after I feel like I've accurately depicted my subject through their face, then the whole rest of the image is just imagined. And so
Hmm.
a lot of the other parts of my figure that I've created, um, they're really just an illusion of a figure. Like I don't go into fine detail. I just kind of hint that that's an arm or whatever, and your mind just creates that for you. The longest, or excuse me, the shortest amount of time that I've spent on one of my pieces is about 200 hours. And so that's the smallest piece. And I have some really large pieces. There's a piece that
Yeah.
I made that took me like 4.5 months to make. And this is my day job. Like this is what I do all day.
Yeah.
So yeah, they take a really long time. Just sewing them takes
Hmm.
days and days and days. So yeah, it's a big labor of love, but I really enjoy it. I think that sometimes how long my pieces take to create is challenging for me. Um, I will spend a whole day up in my studio, placing teeny tiny pieces, and at end of the day feeling like I did not get very far. And I know that somebody else could do this faster than me. And yeah, so like the daily gains of what I'm doing feel really slow. And yeah, it takes me such a long time to get through it. But I'm so in love with my work and I'm so excited about my vision that that's what helps me push through. Like, I want to see this to the end. Like, I know that this is going to be amazing once I'm done. And so even though there are times where it can feel so tedious,
Hmm.
it's worth it if I just keep going. And even when it's tedious, I love it. I'll be honest with you. Like, I absolutely love doing what I do. You know, I honestly am not even really sure with that one. So she's located in our sugar bush in that.
Hmm.
So we are collecting maple syrup as a family in that piece.
Hmm.
It's something that we do every year. Um, she watching her um taking care of her kids in the sugar bush was just so rewarding for
Hmm.
me. Um I I just I guess for each of my each of my children's portraits, I didn't overly intellectualize it. I was just trying to capture their essence, the essence
Mhm.
of each of my children the best that I could. And her just being so nurturing. I just that was exactly who she was in that moment, and yeah, so I was just trying to capture that the best that I could. And honestly, as far as like, having it be mostly white and how that visually unfolded, that was not intellectualized. I just started working, and that's just what felt good at the time
Mhm.
while I was making it. I didn't know that it was going to be a mostly white portrait. But yeah, that's just what felt good. Those are goldfinches, and they are in all of my work to this date. And the reason they are in there is because in Ojibwe culture, they are the language bird. And um, for me, they don't just represent Ojibwe language in my pieces. They represent that depth and breadth of knowledge about um, that understanding that my children have about who they are and why they're here, right? And what they are meant to do um, on this earth and their relationship to the natural world. So it signifies all of that for me. And it also ultimately um, signifies like my whole worldview changing, being married to the man that I'm married to. He's a spiritual leader. He is a Native American activist, trying to revitalize their language and culture. And so being a part of his world has just completely, it's like a light being turned on for me. And so
Mhm.
those birds signify um, that that revelation, that my third eye being opened, I guess, to the world. And um how the with those birds interacting with my children, that's like them interacting with the beautiful parts of their culture and their own spirituality. I'm so thrilled. I am so thrilled to just be a part of a SACWA exhibition. Um, there are so many gifted and talented artists that show with this group, and yeah, just being able to be on the same stage with everybody else who's just doing really, really incredible work. Um, that's so rewarding. I I would love them to take away several things. I would love for, their idea of a quilt to be challenged, right? And um how to approach even the figure
Mhm.
with fabric. I want it to inspire people to play with
Mhm.
their material, to play with their how to do an image. Um,
Mhm.
I I also, I do hope that they my all of my work has a lot of meaning. I'm a storyteller through my work,
Mhm.
and that's harder to convey, when there's just one of your pieces that are in a show and it only tells like, you know, one page of the story.
Mhm.
But I I want people to feel a lot of warmth for um, our Native American communities,
Yeah.
to see the beauty in their culture and um, the beauty in our collective connection to nature. my advice is simply to play. Like at first, don't take yourself so seriously. Like just play with ideas that you have and don't be the one that tells yourself no, right? Like just um don't be afraid to explore different materials and don't get hung up in what you see online and think that, that's the only way to do it or um don't let yourself be intimidated by what you see other people making. Like, as a fiber artist, the joy for me is seeing everybody else's approaches, right? And how different they are from mine, and how they lean into different aspects of their creative process. And yeah, just don't be afraid. A lot of people ask me for advice, like people who are just starting and they want to make
Hmm.
a quilt or something, wall hanging or something. And yeah, I just feel like they let their lack of confidence being a newbie prevent them from just moving ahead. And I would advise you not to think you have to be an expert to get started. Just like play. I think it's really important um, to be authentic to yourself, um, to think about what, not just what your piece means to you, but what are you communicating? Um, I I personally just feel like the creation of art is more rewarding and the
Hmm.
viewing of art is more rewarding when it comes from someone's soul, right? Like when um you leave pieces of yourself behind in it. And
Yeah.
so I would just encourage everybody to do that instead of just like, oh, I want to make a pretty picture, which is great too, but like leave pieces of yourself in there that we can, as viewers, indulge in and celebrate. That's the best kind of art to me.